It's about unity in marriage.
Amen.
Yes, I'm a newlywed. Everything is all fresh and new and lovely, and the birds are chirping, and everything is just all great. But I want to talk to you seriously and give you the real facts about unity in marriage and what it's all about. You know, a lot of marriages are ending in divorce, and we have gotten away from the real true aspect of what marriage and unity is all about. You know, and so I want to take out the time not only to speak to the women, but also speak to our men out here.
Amen.
Because as men, we're supposed to be leaders and lead by example. And understanding what our true responsibility as a man in our marriage is all about. It's really all about. You know, I know for me, I hope y'all don't mind if I be a little transparent with you. Because what people really need to see is everybody wants to see all of the great and wonderful things about marriage, but nobody wants to talk about the seriousness about marriage and what it's really all about. So I like to take out the time to talk about the unity in marriage. I remember just a couple of months ago, you know, me and Mrs. Laws got married, and everything was wonderful and beautiful and excellent, and Pastor sworn us in to marriage. Sworn us in. I like to use the word sworn us in. You know, we had the unity of the sand. You know, we took both everything and everything. And you know, I remember what Pastor told me. She says now that all the fun is gone, the real work really starts. And I didn't believe it. I'm like, oh, you know, this is a big piece of cake. Not knowing what was going to happen when everything starts to kick in. So I'm here to talk about the realness. I'm not going to give you the watered down version.
That's right.
I'm going to give you the real deal of what it's all about. So let's talk about this. First things first. In Colossians chapter 3, verse 18 through 19, it says, "Wives, submit to your husbands, as is befitting in the Lord. And husbands, love your wives. And do not be harsh with them. If I love my wife like Christ loves the church, this means that I live out my life first for God, but next for her."
That's right.
Let's talk about that. A lot of times, we as men, we tend to get away from the fact that in order for us to have a successful marriage, we have to first put God first in everything that we do. We have to take out the time to say, you know what? I got to love God first in order for God to bless my marriage. You know, in order for me to love God first, God will then allow me and teach me how to love my wife. You know, a lot of times we get to that point where we think we got the answer for everything, and we really don't.
Talk about it.
So a lot of times we just got to get back to the basics on where it all started. You know, one thing I realize and understand is that, you know, we're so quick to point the finger. Well, you know, she doing this and he doing that and she doing this and, well, it was her fault and all this type of stuff. See, the whole fact of the matter, no one is listening to one another. You see what I'm saying? No one is listening to one another. And the first thing where everybody messes up is that couples don't pray together anymore. Couples don't worship together anymore. You know, I know when I first started coming to CWC, and I was like, man, I'm the only man here. I'm the only man here. I was like, where all the men at?
Amen.
But I had to realize too that it has to start from somewhere. You have to start from a foundation of saying, you know what? I have to lead by example.
That's right.
You know, because if I lead by example, other men will start coming too.
Right.
And the reason why a lot of men don't come into church because they always say, well, the women outnumber the men. So, you know, well, sometimes it takes one man to bring in other men
That's right.
and to say, hey, look, You know, we need to start worshiping together as brothers.
That's right.
And understand what our real true position is
Right.
as a leader and as the head of our household.
Yes.
So those are the things that we have to look at. And so another thing is too, we have to learn to get really focused about loving Christ.
Come on. Come on.
You know, once we start learning to love Christ for ourselves,
Yes.
then that will open up the door for us to start loving our wives.
Preach,
You know, and I'm not only just speaking for those who've already married. I'm talking about young people who are talking about getting married. You know, everybody wants to invest their time and say, "Oh, I love him," or "I love her."
Yeah.
But one thing you have to understand is, what is your position?
Uh,
What is your position as a man? What do I need to do to receive my true blessing?
That's good. That's
You know,
good.
if I decide to say, "Hey, you know, I love this woman and she loves me," well, you know, you got to get yourself in order first.
Come on, talk about
You
it.
know, because guess what? I could testify to that.
Yeah.
You know, I was that guy who was like, Tanya, I love Tanya to death, but everything is all upside down, topsy-turvy. You know, but the thing about it is I had to realize, the pastor had to teach me that we had to get in alignment. You got to get in alignment first in order for God to bless you. You know, that's why so many things are just sitting still and not moving, and you wondering why things ain't going the way you want them to. That's because you got, as a man, you have to get in alignment first and understand your role and position.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So what I like to talk to you guys about is that as men, we gotta support one another. You know, I walk in here and I see the women, they supporting each other and endeavoring one another, and I'm like, you know, wait a minute. Right. You know, it's more to that to just saying, well, you know, I'm just gonna come to church, you know, every now and then, and you know, and hopefully everything will go well, and I'll come when I can come. But sometimes you got to say, you know what, we got to change up some things.
That's right.
You know, because guess what, we're getting the same situation, we're getting the same old thing, same result. But at some point, you got to change up some things so you get a different result.
That's right.
You know, a lot of times, what I've learned is that when you're not right with Christ in your marriage,
My Lord.
things start getting shaky.
Talk about it.
People start arguing,
Talk about it.
finances,
Talk about it.
not spending enough time with one another.
Amen.
You know, everything is all upside down. Well, you know, why you don't spend enough time with me? Well, why you always watching the game? And you know, it just goes back and forth, tit for tat.
Yeah.
But nobody really is getting out to the core root of what the problem really is.
Yes. Yes.
Jesus is missing.
Yes. My God.
Y'all want to put everything out on the table and left Jesus behind.
My God. My God.
Preach.
Come on now.
So I have to talk to y'all and let y'all realize and understand that it's not easy.
That's right.
I'm learning from experience that it's not easy. But at the end of the day, there comes a time in your life where you have to make a decision. You say, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Come on. Come
That's
on.
right.
It's time for change. I got to do something different.
That's right.
Because guess what? God has blessed me with this woman in my life. And if I want to keep her, if I want to keep happiness in my marriage, I got to learn to love God first.
That's right.
I got to give it to God first, and then everything else will fall in place.
That's right.
And once I feel like everybody starts putting God first in their marriages, in their relationships, everything else will fall in suit. Your finances will fall in suit.
Yes.
Learning to love one another will fall in suit.
That's right. That's right.
Sometimes we as men, we have to humble ourselves and put our selfish pride to the side and say, you know what, let me listen to my wife for me. You see what I'm saying? I'll be one of the first to admit. I know a lot of men ain't gonna, I ain't gonna admit that. But you have to humble yourself and realize that it ain't all about you.
Come on. Say that.
You have to humble yourself and say, look, I have to do a self-check.
Yes.
Tell the truth, Minister.
Because, you know, a lot of times, you know, we want to feel like, oh, you know, well, we know everything. We the head of the household, and that's just the way it is. But sometimes we as men can be wrong too, and we have to learn to accept that we can be wrong. Women are being put in our lives for a reason, because God has ordained it that way.
Wow. Come on.
You understand?
That's right.
Another thing I wanted to talk about is right here in 1 Corinthians 7 and 5. It says, and this is one of the biggest things, do not deprive one another except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer. But then come together again so that Satan may not tempt you because you lack of self-control. Can y'all feel me on that?
Help the singles too. All right.
Yes. You know, it's so funny, and I hope you don't mind if I be candid, Pastor. A lot of times we use sex as a weapon.
That's right.
You know, we use I know I'm gonna use this against him because I know this is a weakness for him, and I'm gonna say what I gotta say, or I'm gonna deprive him of something, or I'm gonna deprive her of something because I feel I could do that, and that's not helping the problem at all. The only thing that does is make a person dislike you even more, and it makes the problem even worse. So we have to understand that not only women have to be submissive to their husbands, but husbands got to be submissive to their women. It's a two-way thing. Yeah. It's not a one-sided thing. We got to bring unity back in the relationship. We got to, because if we don't, we're going to have more divorces, more people cheating, more people getting into relationships. They getting into relationships just for the sake of saying I'm in a relationship. And there's no value behind any and everything that you're doing. You know, when I was sitting back and I was listening to everybody speak about unity, I said, you know what? I wanted to do something different. I wanted to kind of go against the grain because everybody is talking about the church, and church, the unity in the church, and all that's great. I said, but you know what? I said, let's get to the real root of what's really going on. Because I had to sit up last night. I was thinking, I was like, you know, I was thinking about, man, what can I talk about in unity, right? Man, I was like, I told Chang, I said, you know what? I can't come up with anything. I cannot come up with anything. But lo and behold, when I woke up in the morning, I looked at Chang, I said, Chang, you know what? I said, God gave me a vision and a word to talk about. Something that is totally against the grain. I said, I bet you nobody, I said, I'm the only guy, ain't nobody gonna talk about me. Because sometimes people are afraid to talk about that. But I'm here to tell you that it's real. Let's not sugarcoat anything. Let's talk about it. Let's get it all out in the open. Because apparently I know at some point somebody's going through something in their marriage. Whether it's a difference of opinion, whether everybody's kind of in their own little zone doing their own little thing. Nobody's spending time with one another. Nobody's worshiping together anymore. You know? And that's the key source that we're talking about. You know, we got to start worshiping more.
Yes.
You know, together as a family.
Yes.
That's what unity is all about.
Yes.
You know, I would like to see more men come in and fellowship with me.